This video is designed to talk you through the Calcutta case study. You can see here the red writing which gives you an outline of what the examiners are looking for in this question. You need to be able to describe and explain the growth of shantytowns, describe and explain the location of shantytowns, and describe and explain the characteristics of shantytowns. You can see here your background information. Calcutta was formerly known as Calcutta. It's a population of over 12.3 million and is built on flat land on either side of the river Hooghly. If you look at your GCSE textbook or GCSE ebook, you will see that there are a number of growth or location areas, specifically 3. You'll see that Area 1 talks about the city centre as a location of the shantytowns. Poor quality houses up to 150 years old, and they grew up as the city urbanised and people wanted to be close to their work. The other, second growth location is surrounding the industrial area, and basically the shanties grew up in this area because the land that commercial property developers don't want to build on due to its proximity to the industry. The shantytown grew up here as it's close to a source of casual work also. The third and final area is alongside road and railway junctions, or tracks and main roads. They grew up here over 60 years ago, and this was the first area that people arrived to as they urbanised from the rural areas. In the textbook, the next section looks at characteristics. You need to have some notes on the various characteristics. You can see characteristic 1 talks about there being 5,500 of these shanties in Calcutta. Characteristic 2 talks about them being registered as or called busties. And characteristic 3 talks about over 40% of the shantytowns have been there for 2 generations or longer. So you can see that there are lots of fact figure place in that information. Over on the next page you can see that characteristic 4 talks about most of them working in the informal sector, so they don't actually have any formal jobs. And number 5, it says that the number is set to grow, so the number of inhabitants in them is set to grow. This is due to natural increase. It grew by 32% between 1981 and 1991. So that's the growth, location and characteristics described. If you come across to the next page, you can see an example question. Command word, describe, which means give reasons. Describe means say what you see. Explain means give reasons for the location of the shantytown areas in an LEDC city that you have studied. You can see the level 3 5 to 6 mark scheme. An answer that describes and explains the location of shantytowns in a named LEDC city. Specific detail is needed through at least 2 facts figures for 6 marks or top level 3. So if we think about that in the context of how we plan for our answers, the first thing that we would want to do is state the case study. Our case study is obviously Calcutta. You would then want to take point 1 to describe and explain the location. If you were going to do this, I would probably choose the shantytown area in the city centre. These are poor quality houses up to 150 years old, and they grew up here as the city urbanised and people wanted to be close to their work. Describe and explain the location, that's your first one. I would also then describe and explain location of a second area. Again, probably the best one to do is talk about the shantytown area surrounding the industrial area. This is land that commercial property developers don't want due to its proximity to the industry, and the shantytown grew up here as it's close to a source of casual work. So that would allow us to access top level 3. We're naming the specific LIDC city, and we have at least 2 fact figure place to access the top level 3 6 marks. I've got an example answer here. Unfortunately it's not for Calcutta, but it illustrates how different schools can write different answers. In Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, the majority of Santa towns are located within the old inner suburbs of the city to the west of Guanabara Bay. This means that they are on the same side of the bay as the CBD and main areas of luxury apartments, and these are the areas where work is most likely to be available. So that's your first point, explain, expand, with Guanabara Bay as your fact figure place. Second point, explain, expand, the favelas are built on steep ground called morros as your fact figure place, as the land is considered too steep for legal housing. This marginal land is not wanted by developers, as housing can be washed away in landslides following storms. So 2 fact figures, 2 point, explain, expands, top level 3.